I used to think winter nights were quiet. I grew up in a tiny isolated town up north surrounded by endless forest and mountain ranges, where the only sounds were the wind and the crunch of snow beneath your boots. But last winter I learned that something out there waits in the cold, hidden in the silence just waiting to be noticed. It started on the night I stayed alone at our family's cabin. I'd gone up for a weekend of hunting and planned to head back before dark, but a snowstorm rolled in early. By the time I'd returned from the woods, I was exhausted, and the snowfall was heavy enough that getting back to town was out of the question. So I settled in for the night, trying to ignore the creeping feeling that something was off. By midnight, the forest outside had gone pitch black with only the faintest light coming through the trees. The wind held low and steady, so I nearly ignored the first sound, a soft, steady tapping on the window. I assumed it was a branch or something rattling in the wind, but then the tapping grew louder, steady and almost deliberate. When I finally went over to close the curtains, I saw them bare footprints in the snow, leading right up to the window. They didn't come from anywhere. There were no tracks leading to or from the footprints. They started at the window. A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the temperature. Every part of me screamed to turn away, to lock the door, but I grabbed my flashlight and shone it outside, convinced I'd see something. And that's when I saw it, a figure tall and impossibly thin, almost blending into the snow except for those eyes. Two dark hollow spots staring back at me with an unnatural stillness. I dropped the flashlight and stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own feet in my rush to shut every curtain in the cabin, to lock every door. Then the whispering started. At first it was faint, like the wind, so soft that I could almost convince myself it was my imagination. But the longer I sat there, heart racing, the clearer it got. It wasn't just whispering, it was calling my name. I bolted into the bedroom, slamming the door and pushing the dresser against it for good measure. For hours I lay in bed listening to those soft shuffling footsteps outside the cabin, moving from window to window, stopping just outside the door. The whispering never stopped, thin as ice, drifting through the walls as if it already knew my answer. At some point, I must have passed out from exhaustion, because when I opened my eyes, light was streaming in through the window. The first thing I did was pull back the curtains and look outside, dreading what I might see. There was nothing. The footprints had vanished, erased by the fresh snow. But I knew what I'd seen. I'd heard stories since, rumors of a creature that only appears on the coldest, darkest nights, drawn to the sound of anyone alone in the woods, in a place where they can't get help. They say it only comes closer if you look, if you acknowledge it.